after I had my kids, it was just like, I wasn't used to being that heavy, you know? Let's be honest, the baby weight, all of the body changes that happen, I just wasn't used to it. And I didn't recognize myself. You know, I think all the typical things that we go through as moms. And I had the thought, like, what was I doing when I felt like me? And I was like, I was dancing all the time. Like it was my work. It was my passion. It was everything I did. And I never looked at what I did as like, I have to work out. I was always so busy dancing. So I didn't realize how much what I was already doing was keeping me active or keeping me healthy and keeping me connected to my passions like my whole life.
Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Soul Care Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wild of soulcaremom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. How many times have you wished for a magic wand to ease the stress and tension of the day? We might not have a wand, but we do have something that's almost as magical, and that's intuitive movement and intuitive dance. These practices are about reconnecting with your body, letting go, and experiencing the joy and freedom of movement in a way that feels right for you in the moment. It's about stepping out of the mold and shaking off the stress and finding your unique rhythm. In this episode of the Soul Care Mom podcast, I chat with Audrey Benson Nuamah, a dancer and choreographer and amazing mom of 3, as we dive into how to connect with your body and find intuitive movement through intuitive dance. So slip into some comfy dancing clothes and join me on this journey of self-discovery, self-love, and empowerment through intuitive movement and dance. Hi, Audrey. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited to talk with you about movement and especially like intuitive movement and feeling into our bodies. And I love that we get to do this because when we first connected, we had a phone call and just your beautiful energy, like I could feel it through the phone. I love that we're connected and I'm so excited to share your story. Could you start by sharing a little bit about your journey, about your family, your journey with dance and how you came to help moms with the beautiful work that you do?
Yes, absolutely. First off, thank you, Catherine, for having me on here. I've been really looking forward to this. And yeah, that phone call was amazing. And just everything that you stand for, I'm like, we're just so in alignment, you know, with what we want to give to the mom world. And I'm just really glad that I've gotten to know you through this whole process. So, yeah, let's see. I've got 3 kids. They're 5 and under. My oldest is 5, Jakayla, and then Jamari, who's 3. He just turned 3. And then my youngest, Jay Andre, he's 16 months. So a little bit of backstory. I've always been into dance. I started dance when I was 5. I did the studio thing, did it in school, moved to LA when I was 18, pursued dance there until 25, then moved to China for dance, then met my husband there, then had our honeymoon. Found out we were pregnant. We were on our honeymoon in the Philippines, and we were like, thank God we had the visa and everything lined up, ready to go. So I was like, I'm not having this baby in China because I couldn't speak very good Chinese, and they still don't let the men into the room. So I was like, how is that going to work? And he was like pretty much fluent, but anyway. So I came home 6 months pregnant with my daughter, and then he came 2 months later, and then she was born 2 months later. So it all timing like worked out And we started fresh back here in Arizona, where I was born, to be around family. And after I had my kids, it was just like, I wasn't used to being that heavy, you know? Let's be honest, the baby weight, all of the body changes that happen, I just wasn't used to it. And I didn't recognize myself. And, I think all the typical things that we go through as moms, right? And so I was like, well, I had the thought, like, what was I doing when I felt like me? And I was like, I was dancing all the time. Like it was my work. It was my passion. It was everything I did. And so I never really, I never looked at what I did as like, I have to work out. You know, people like, I got to go to the gym, be fit and lift weights and run. And I never was a gym person. And sometimes I would run because I did like the treadmill when I did go, but I very rarely went because I was always so busy dancing. So I didn't realize how much what I was already doing was keeping me active or keeping me healthy and keeping me connected to my passions like my whole life until I had my babies, and I wasn't doing it as often, you know? And so when I had that question, what was I doing when I felt like myself? I was like, oh yeah, I was moving. Like it was simple, like so simple. Like I was just moving more. I was dancing. I was sweating, you know, I was doing something that was really enjoyable for me. So, after my second, I was like, okay, well, and the pandemic hit, you know, I have 2 pandemic babies, right? So everyone's locked in and everyone's dancing on TikTok and doing all the, you know, all the things. Yes. And so I saw an ad, to be honest. I saw an ad of like, you can have your own app. And I'm like, me, app, techie person? Yeah, no thanks. Like, I what, you know? But then he started talking about like, if you teach something and, you know, online courses and all, I'm like, yeah, I watch those all the time. Like, I'm all about self-development and everything, right? But I never had that epiphany of like, you should teach dance at home to moms that are in my same boat, that miss dancing, that want to do something fun, that can't get out of the house because they're strapped to the home because they have no one to watch their kids, you know? And so like, it doesn't have to be like this, like, you know, where we just feel like we can't get any self-care in with what we desire to do for our workouts. And so I know there's a million options and things to do out there, but I thought when I saw that ad, it was an answer to like a deeper calling of what I had been feeling for a long time. And so I hopped on it and I took the program, and they say it takes 30 days. It took me 60. That's okay. I gave myself grace. I followed the steps, implement, you know, watch, implement. And then because I had to film my content and choreograph everything. Of course, when you have a goal and you see this goal, and then it gets you moving in action, right? And so it was like, okay, cool. Now I'm doing it. I'm doing it myself again back home. There was like this bigger purpose of just my workout to do it, but how can I serve others, right? And reach moms that are feeling the same as me. And so, yeah, that's when Abundance for Moms was born. And I've just been, you know, trucking along, trying to reach as many mamas as I can. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I know it was a lot, but
no, I love it. Thank you for sharing your journey. And I love the name Abundance. And yeah, and thank you for your honesty about that. I think like we do feel kind of lost, you know, after this big life change that we have. And sometimes we have to like ask, like, what is it that, you know, how did I feel like what makes me feel like me? And, you know, how can I reconnect to that? And there are so many body changes and everything. And you're right. Like so often we don't have time to go to the gym for an hour, you know, especially when our littles are little or when there's a pandemic. So right. Yeah, I love that you did this for yourself, and then you found a way to help others, like help other moms with it. And I just love, like, so at our house, like we really enjoy music. So we love turning music on. We love singing to it. We love being silly and moving to it. And even before this call, like I was just getting things ready for us. And I had this feeling like, I just want to turn on a song. And I knew what song I wanted to turn on. So I turned that song on and just like, following that instinct that we have sometimes. Like, I love that because it really can just be that simple, right? Just turning on a song and moving. How we love doing that at home. And it just like doing those little things, like it doesn't have to be this hour-long time for a workout or whatever, right? For whatever that you want to do for yourself. It can be sprinkled throughout your day.
Do you feel overwhelmed and anxious? Do you wish you could stop losing your temper with your kids and just have more fun as a mom? Do you crave finding more time to do the things you love without feeling guilty? I get it, Mama. I've been there. That's why I created the Vibrant Mom Life membership. Imagine what life would look like if you could finally get out of survival mode, consistently find time for yourself, and be the calm, present mom you've always wanted to be. This membership will help you step out of anxiety and overwhelm and help you find time for yourself without the guilt. Inside Vibrant Mom Life, you'll find monthly themes that will help you shift your mindset, get out of survival mode, and find time for the things you love, all while being the mom you want to be. Plus, you'll find guided meditations and yoga practices that will help you effortlessly infuse your days with self-care. And I know that some days are harder than others, so you'll even find a library of short and sweet guided affirmations, so you can simply press play and reconnect with your inner calm in just minutes. Join Vibrant Mom Life today by going to soulcaremom.com/membership so you can stop running on empty and truly enjoy mom life. I can't wait to welcome you inside, Mama.
And it's like you touched on this, it's that self-care piece that sometimes sits on the back burner for us as moms. So what are your thoughts about this doing this intuitive movement, to getting back in touch with yourself, dancing, whatever feels good to you, and self-care? What's the connection there? Or have you found that there's a connection?
Yeah, to me, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
I don't know, because that's just always been my go-to since that was just something I was passionate about before I had my kids, right? So when I think about doing something I enjoy or something that I like dance is just top of my list. And so if I were to think, self-care, find something that you like to do, something that a hobby, something, whether it's journaling or walking or whatever your thing is, dance would have popped up for me anyway. So I don't really separate them. I know that that's kind of my thing, I have, in the beginning when I'm creating the choreography, and I had this, it felt as if, because as an artist, when you get in your zone, sometimes, let's just be real, you don't want distractions when you're in your zone. And when someone pulls you out of your zone, you're like, hold on, I'm almost done choreographing. I'm almost done. I've got 2 8 counts left, or whatever it may be, right? If you're a painter, you're like, hold on, I don't know. I just can imagine any kind of art form. When you're in the flow of doing what you're doing, it's not fun to get interrupted. And when you have your kids, of course, I had to learn that, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, I am going to get interrupted. So how can I still do this and feel that connection with them around? And so that was an adjustment. And of course, even when I'm filming the content out, my husband watches them downstairs for me. It's like, be quiet, be quiet. But the good thing, if I can hear them, at the same time, it's this is life, and this is 4 months, and this is, so if they run through or they say, pop in and say, it's totally fine. We get it, and it's more about are you making are you taking that small action step? Like you said, it doesn't have to be a whole hour, right? So most of the content, the choreography is like a 25-minute lesson, and there's a warm up and a stretch, and then the choreography and a cool down. But you can always hit pause. You know, like, you know how many times I have to be like, hold on, pause, and then like, you know, switch, like change a diaper, or like, oh, the laundry real quick. You know, like, you, as long as you're still doing it, I think that's the end game, is like, you just still have to do it. Like, how you go about doing it, it's flexible, which is cool about what the pandemic did for every industry, I feel like, which is everything going virtual and stuff, and people working from home. And, you know, we began to see, like, we had a little bit more compassion for like people at home, for what they're doing at home, like home life, because we all were locked in, right? And so I think like it also gave us an opportunity to say, hey, I still want to do what I'm going to do. How am I going to do it? With distractions or no distractions? If you don't have any, I mean, yay, awesome. Just get it done. Right? But if you do, yay, get it done. Like, it's still feasible. And so I had to I'm rambling, but I had to make that connection in my brain, like switch from like, oh, I got to choreograph and I want my zone, everybody leave me alone, to like, oh no, I can still be in my zone, and they can be right there. And actually it's good for them to see me in my zone, you know? And maybe I could like play and like the amount of times now I know how much they know the music, right? Or like little arm moves, my daughter will kind of chime in, and I'm just like, that feels fulfilling to me too. That's still what I'm offering these mamas, is leaking out into my children and showing them, you know, being healthy, and mommy's taking care of her, and not being so anal in my own mind about like, it has to be done this way. And I think motherhood is just overall, it'll teach you that real quick, right? That everything doesn't, like, you can't control everything, and then always having to be on this fit schedule and this and that. You learn how to be flexible very quickly, and how to give yourself grace quickly. Hopefully we've learned that, right? That's a day in and day out practice. But yeah, they're it's all one and the same for me. So I just I was rewatching our interview actually, and how you talked about the hats changing and stuff, and how everything, and just being, I've really soaked that into my life now too. And I'm understanding that that's like, oh, that is what I'm doing. I don't think I was aware of that till we had our conversation. So thank you for that. Cause you know, those nuggets like bring out awareness and all of us, whoever's watching. So yeah, I don't think it has to be separate. And I think you can really take care of yourself when they're present, or even if you're interrupted, you know, and just, if it's not exactly how you wanted it in that moment, try again tomorrow. Like, it's not the end of the world, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I love that so much, that that self-care is it's the things that bring you joy. Like, it's not something separate. Like, I remember when I first started, like, okay, I need to do self-care. And so like, I look for, you know, like, this is what I need to do. It needs to be separate from my kids, like all of these things that made it harder than it needed to be. And, you know, took some of the joy away from it. I love that, that they're one and the same for you. And if anybody listening, like, at the time of this recording, there's a beautiful self-care summit that Audrey put together, which is what she's talking about with our chat. But yeah, so I love that. Okay, I love that you know, your kids are part of it, that you find your flow. Like, you know, you're so right. Like, motherhood kind of cracks us open, like, has us let go of control. Like, you know, there's no other option really. And so I love that. So, okay, so you walk moms through the choreography, the warm up, the cool down. If there's a mom who's like, that sounds really fun, but I'm intimidated by that. Like, I've never danced before. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what would you say to her if she wants to try this? Yeah.
Get over it. Like, I mean, that's blunt. right? Anything that you've never done before, just look at your baby and remember like the first time they walk. You don't sit there and scold them for not getting it the first time, right? You like, we give our kids so much grace when they're going through a milestone. And when we view ourselves that way, when we're going into trying something new, whether it's a dance class or a jujitsu class, or I don't know, a painting class, whatever, something new. If you've never done it, of course you're going to feel intimidated as an adult. Kids, I think, don't feel so intimidated initially because they're not as domesticated. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not as in their heads about it, for sure.
Yeah, they just go, you know? Yeah. And we know that as we watch them. And so I actually try to learn from them as much as I can. So anytime you're feeling intimate about trying something new, just remember, like, your child, would they feel that way? Probably not. And they're so connected to their core self, more, I think, than we are at times, that it's like, oh yeah. And if you're going to tell them, hey, you got to, have confidence when you go to class, or then you got to be able to walk the walk. They got to see you doing it too. So I think if you are feeling it, it's okay to feel it. But on the opposite side of fear is excitement. Mm-hmm. And so if you can if you can switch the mindset before you even begin, you'll have a better experience, right? And one thing I want to say about dance that helps you kind of see where you're at. And it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it, if you're professional, if you're a beginner, it doesn't matter. Dance is such a powerful tool to show you where you're at now. Like, you can use dance as like, so say you're learning the choreography, right? And you feel like, oh, I got this. And you're like in it and you're like, I got this. And then you get a little too comfortable. You forget, your muscle memory hasn't memorized it yet, right? And then you blank, because trust me, that has happened many times. I'll never forget happened in an audition, in Rihanna's audition, actually, before she was Rihanna, like big name, right? I turned and faced the back, and I blanked out, and I, for like 5 seconds, everyone was facing front. I was still facing the back. I turned around, like, picked back up, and the show must go on. And then I was like, yeah, bombed that one and lesson. But I never forgot the lesson, which is like, in that moment, like, I was because they had us facing the mirror to learn the choreography. But then when it came time to like judge, pick, they turned us to the wall. And so my direction got all thrown off. And so when we're turning in the routine, I went, I faced the back, and I'm like, yeah, that's the back. But then, oh no. And I just felt all miscombobulated. And it showed. And that's okay. I was in my head, right? I was worried so much of like, oh, if I'm in the mirror, I know it because I can see the move, right? But I wasn't focused on feeling the move. And like, when you're connected to the feeling of the move and you're not worried about what you look like or what anyone else looks like, then you'll trust your body, and your body will remember because it has muscle memory, right? The moment you start to like think too much, your body will show that. And that's usually when you mess up, right? So anytime someone's taking your class, and if they mess up or whatever, especially in class, that's what class is for, to get good at this, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're not good at it, that's okay. And just look at it as a tool of like, oh, I'm in my head. Like, my body is not responding to what, sorry, how do I hit my body? My body is not responding. I'm not remembering the move on this part. Clearly I'm on here. So it's like, I try to, as I'm, teaching, break it down, go slow, but like, just trust yourself and go at your own pace. There's the cool thing about the technology aspect of doing it is you're not in a group class where you disrupt and you're like, feel like, can we do it again? Can we do it again? Because you need it like 10 times. You're like, can we do it again? And then you're not in that kind of setting where you would hold the class back, right? Or maybe you are like super fast learner and you get bored in class because you're like, they're going over it again. Can we move on? So the cool thing about the technology now is all you have to do is pause, and go through it with your body, and then rewind, do it again. Like, you have that flexibility and that option until you feel confident, right? And so that's what's really cool about it. And dance is just a tool. It's a tool to keep you present. It shows you where you're at, and don't beat yourself up if you're not present. It's a practice to get there. And when you are, though, and you do start to get better at getting present, and then you start really getting into the moves and feeling the moves, like, it's the best connection that it just has so many benefits, because not only are you like in tune with the song, if you like the song, and with your body, but you're going to start feeling confident. Your cells, literally, there's scientific studies out there that show how much dance helps just in general. When you think about and how much of it is in our culture. When you think about when you go to a wedding reception, what are people doing? Dancing. When you go to take your kid to a Disney movie, the scenes, the dancing, right? When maybe you're not a dancer yourself, but you so you think you can dance, and you pop it on your TV. It's entertaining. It's connection. It's community. It's all the things, right? And yes, we have the different styles, and we have freestyle, and we have all the like whatever styles you want to do. But at the end of the day, like the benefits that you give yourself and your body when you choose to move, whatever your movements look like it's so juicy and it's so good. And it helps with dementia. It keeps you young. I could go on forever. It sheds the weight without you even thinking like, okay, I need to lose the weight. Because when you're tuned in, then your body, because you can't be happy. Okay, no, you can't be like super depressed, turn on a happy song, dance like these happy movements, and still feel sad at the same time. Your brain literally gets confused with the chemicals that are being released from the movement, right? And so when you use it like that as a tool, like even if you are having a bad day, like, okay, today was hard. Like I didn't get up early enough. I didn't get my self-care before my kids woke up, and I got to do it in front of them when we get downstairs. Okay, we're going to make pancakes and I'm turning the music on. And even if I'm feeling like, oh, something's happening, it's bothering me. But if I just know that I'm using this music and this moment, and I have that intention of like, I'm going to turn the song on, I'm going to get moving. And then just ask yourself, like, how do you feel after? Like you'll feel a huge difference, And then if you start, if you say then the problem comes up again 2 hours later and you're still struggling with that same problem or whatever, do a different song, do another song, do the same song 5 times a day if you have to. But once you get in the pattern of like, this is a tool I can use to help pull me out of my postpartum depression or whatever, sadness or frustration you're feeling, dance is just a really powerful way a tool that you can use. Just look at it as a tool. Don't be intimidated by a tool, right? It's there for your benefit. So anyway, that was long again, but
I love that. And that touched on so many things that I did want to ask you, like about, moving that energy through your body, like emotion, right? Energy and motion, like moving that through us is such a powerful thing. And I love this way of looking at dance because it reminds me of like, it's how I look at yoga or meditation. Like we take time to do this thing in our lives so that we can cultivate this way of being, right? And you're saying like dance asks you to be present and asks you to be in your body. And like, what a beautiful thing to cultivate, in your life, like being more connected to yourself and like, and I think, sometimes I think things we can judge ourselves on, like when you're following choreography is like, I didn't move exactly that way, but you can bring your own style into it. Like you were saying, like however you move, like that adds your unique twist and touch to it. Yeah. And you're right, it is in so many cultures and so many things. And even if you don't dance, it's fun to watch, right? Like, so there's like, all the layers to it in the community. I love all of that so, so much. Thank you. I'm feeling inspired.
Well, and there's a reason too why like people like Tony Robbins, like have you get up, right? And have you do movements when you're affirming your new belief or whatever, right? Because it integrates into your body. Mm-hmm. So you can use it for everything. You can dance to your affirmations. It's something I'm I really love doing too. Like it doesn't have to be follow step by step by step. What the teacher, like you said, has unique, you can add your unique flair and all that. However, if you do decide to go do like professional, you want to be able to know how to turn those things on and off, right? As it is a skill, and there are, techniques to things and everything. But if you're just like, oh, I'm new to dance, and how does this work? And you got to start to feel comfortable, not always confident. You got to start to like feel comfortable in moving, like just taking that little step to like move, and it helps when you can, when you do have a group of people to do it with, that you see someone, or you have a teacher to learn from, that you see them doing it, and you can model, of course, just like anything, right? We watch by our, who we're modeling after. But yeah, I mean, I recently, I led in worship at Bible study, I added movement to the song and had, as an older crowd, and had them totally moving their arms, and the lady after, one of the ladies said after, oh my gosh, I need to do this every day. And I thought, yeah, I mean, isn't it it's so simple. We breathe every day. We don't think about it, but how much do we hear? We hear music all the time. You probably maybe rock out in your car, right? Or maybe you hear it in the grocery store. And everyone's just kind of, that's why my favorite music, like Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling, everyone's just so free. And when you said we watch so you think you can dance, we're entertained by it. Why are we entertained by it? Because we notice when people are dancing, they're in spirit to their connection of who they are. They don't care what other people think. They're going for it. And that's contagious, right? And even if you're bad at it, it's still like when you see someone who doesn't care what they look like and they're freestyling and they're just going for it, that person touched you, that moment, like, oh, I wish I had the confidence to do that. Or, you were thinking something like, wow, they're totally in it. Like, good for them, and maybe you don't want to take it so seriously and learn how to do all the steps and whatever, but wherever you are in your journey, I just encourage you to try it. Like, just tell Alexa to throw a song on while you're making pancakes or cooking or, whatever, and just allow, like, whatever wants to come out, just start moving and don't judge it. Just go, oh, interesting, take yourself into observer mode and go, isn't that interesting? I wanted to move there. I wonder why. Like, it can release. There's a reason it's called dance therapy too, so because everything gets bottled up and stuck in us. And so I feel like dance is just a really cool way to help release all that, help get you recentered, get connected, shed the weight, sweat, get in community, all the things. Anyway.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the affirmations thing. I'm going to try that. That sounds really fun. Yeah. And you're so right. What an amazing benefit to get to like move in a playful way and feel fit in your body, like, feel stronger and lose the extra weight that you've been wanting to, like, it doesn't have to be so rigid.
I even danced with giving birth, like by my third, I was like, okay, I'm going to dance this. I'm going to dance through this because it's move, the baby has to come down the canal. Like, how can I help? Right. And so actually on the way there to the hospital, like, we turned on the radio and Jay-Z was playing. I was like, turn it up. So I was like, just like trying to like distract myself. Right. And like dancing. And then we got there and I was like, hey, turn him off. I don't want to give birth to Jay-Z. No offense, Jay-Z, but Yeah. And so I was like, turn on some Bob Marley. And so it's like Buffalo Soldier. And I was literally just in between contractions or surges, I call them, like full on letting everything move. And that was my quickest, like just, it was fast, and a lot of it I think had to do with like, I was like, everybody was just, it was funny because they were like, 1 second you're like, be quiet, and the other second, be loud, because they had their mask so I couldn't hear. So I'm like, I can't hear you when they're trying to ask me a question. And they're like, and then I'm like, then everyone's talking like, everyone be quiet. I'm trying to focus on being in tune and allowing, but I I'll never forget when they left. There was a moment when I was in there alone for like, well, I think my husband was behind me and it was just me and him. But there was like, I couldn't see anyone. There was no nurses. And I was on the edge of the bed. And I remember like, oh my gosh, this baby's coming like now. And how quick I felt him drop. And a lot of it was like, I don't know. I almost thought like if I had a fourth, can I be alone the whole time? Maybe it'll help. You know, just to like fully tune in and yeah. And then I had this overwhelming like, is someone catching? Like, because it felt like, you know, when they drop initially, that it's like, oh, is he coming out? But you know, I still have a good 20 minutes left. But anyway, yeah, in between surges, I was like, babe, all I want you to do is film this one, and I'm just going to dance through this. And he was my quickest one, you know? So I trust the power of movement and dance with like everything in my life.
I love that. Yeah. And it really like just that tuning into yourself, like that is what like the place that we want to live from, right? Like that really connecting with our true selves. And I love that. I love that story so much. I feel the same. Like the more I was able to just go inward and move in the way that felt right in the moment, like giving birth, like that helps so much. So powerful. And I think another thing you were saying about at your church, like the woman who was saying like, I want to do that. Like we sit so much, right? Our culture is just like, we sit in chairs, we sit, you know, sometimes we sit on the floor, but maybe not even that, right? We sit in our cars. Like there's so much like sitting on the couch, like everywhere. And so just like the act of moving, like moving your arms a little bit, taking a break to like check in and move your body. I think we lose a lot of our movement, like because we don't use it, you know, like we don't, you know, stretch and touch our toes, or we don't, you know, like so those things start to ache. And you're like you were saying, it keeps you feeling youthful. So many things to take away from this. Thank you so much. And I would love, like I always love to hear, you have been on this beautiful journey of dance and motherhood and all these things. If you could go back in time to any point in time with the wisdom that you have now, what would you share with yourself?
My first thought is make time to tune in. Like just make that time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Even if it's only 30 seconds is all you get. Like, you know, even if it's 5 seconds here and 5 seconds there and 5 seconds 3 hours later, like make the time to tune in, because all the answers are within you. Yes, we help each other by doing stuff like this and speaking and reaching as many people as we can, right? But my true belief is everybody has the wisdom within them. And so if you can get quiet enough, and sometimes it's not always about getting quiet either. It's about listening to a nudge that tells you to act on something, right? And maybe that action is noisy. Maybe it's music and it's loud, right? Or maybe it's whatever. That would be my biggest thing. Like I'd be like, Audrey, take the time to tune into you and listen to your gut. Like that is the truth of where you act from, and that inspired action you take will ripple out into everyone you meet and everything you do. When you live from there, you'll thrive. So I think that would be my main thing. Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, how amazing would it be if every single person on earth took at least 30 minutes just to be with themselves? I mean, 30 seconds to just like stop and connect and tune in. We live in such a busy world, and like, that is so beautiful. Like, I love that. Definitely gonna take that with me. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for everything. Thank you for all of your wisdom, all of the tips, sharing your story. Can you let us know where we can find you online?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to abundanceformoms.passion.io. That's where you can see all the stuff I offer in the app. It's on Google Play and it's on Apple Store. And it's also like a web page, right? So it's all three. So you can type in Abundance for Moms on the Google or the Apple store, or just type it in on your browser. It'll pop up. And then for my socials, Insta, I'm at Audrey Benson. And you can, same for Facebook, just Audrey Benson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll add these in the show notes so everybody can find you and connect with you. Thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be on your podcast. I love it so much. So thank you, Catherine.
Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.